Hi, this is Hugo Venegas. Welcome to our new week of studying our Bible study, Hope and Coffee from the First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado. And we're going to be looking at 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're looking at verse 16, which Peter says to the believers, keeping a clear conscience so that those who speak maliciously against your behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander. And then verse 17, it is better if it is God's will to suffer for doing good than for doing evil. It is better if it's God's will for us to suffer for doing good instead of doing evil. As I was studying this text this morning, I realized that you can suffer for doing nothing. Do you realize that? You can suffer for doing nothing? A couple days ago, I heard a story of a lady who was driving in California, and suddenly a rock came out of nowhere through her windshield and she was killed. Police think that someone may have thrown the rock. Here was this woman driving down the road doing nothing, and she was killed. I remember a couple summers ago down in Chicago, there was a young lady who was standing right outside of her home. She was doing nothing, and then a drive-by shooting happened and she was killed. I have experienced that myself. When I was in high school, I was out with a group of buddies. It was the first day of a carnival. There was not a lot happening, and we were going by the beach, and then some cops came over, pulled us over, started searching to see if we were carrying nothing. We were doing nothing. We were carrying nothing, and they let my buddies go. I was arrested and put into prison for a night. And for doing nothing. I did not do nothing. I did nothing, and I was put into prison. Well, that's not what Peter is talking about. He's basically saying that we are to suffer for doing what is good. I'm sure that there are a lot of people around the world who are suffering for doing evil. There are people who are suffering because they have committed a crime. There are people who are suffering because they have stolen people's money, and now they have to deal with the consequences. Well, what the early believers were going through was persecution because of their faith, because of what they believed, because of their worship of God. And we are to suffer for doing good. It's not just hanging around doing bad, or you're standing around and doing nothing. The passage is referring to people who are going through a hard time because they were committed to live lives of integrity, to live lives of worshiping God. I want you to know that when I was arrested, I was framed by the police, and they told my parents that I had marijuana papers in my pocket, which it was not true. And I was so mad that I went home and I started looking at my chemistry books to figure out how to make a bomb, because I wanted to bomb the police station. Had my older brother not seen me when I was going to test the bomb out, I probably would have created a lot of hurt, and I would have probably gotten into deep trouble. Well, the early Christians experienced a lot of trouble. They were framed. Nero, one of the greatest Roman emperors, and he was not great because of good things. He was great because of all the bad things he did. He did not like Christians, and he would take them and throw them into the Colosseum so that they would be eaten by lions. He started a fire and burnt most of Rome down, and he blamed it on the Christians. And he also had Christians who they put tar in the Christians, and he would light up his palace. He would light Rome's up by believers. Why was he treating the believers like this? Because of their fidelity to Christ. Because of their commitment to help the poor, to preach the good news to those who were outcast, to go to the dumps of Rome and to pick up the children that the Romans were discarding and adopting them and bringing them into Christian homes. That's why they were persecuting, because they were doing something good. You know, this morning I saw a report in which Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were out in LA. I was shocked. They were out in LA, they had their masks, and they were helping to feed the poor. They were taking food to people who were in need. And I'm like, wow, what if they get sick? Well, if they get sick, they were doing something good. We are supposed to help. We're supposed to be in situations that may be challenging to our own safety, but make sure that it's doing good. I want to challenge you this week. Go out and do something good. Go out and bless someone. Go out, even if it's going to cost you something. Do something good. Don't just sit around and do nothing. Don't just sit around or go out and do something evil. For it is better to suffer for doing God's will than for just being out there creating trouble in our coronavirus world. God bless you. Hugo Venegas from the First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado.